Cao Cao was savage. In this documentary video, you'll find out how the Three Kingdoms and Dynasty warriors legend successfully conquered North China, then failed in the south, as well as how he became an emperor after he died. All of this and more coming up in Life of Cao Cao, Part 2.
I'd rather do wrong to the world than allow the world to do wrong to me.
Cao Cao yearned for nothing more than for China to be at peace, even if it meant being remembered as a demon. Previously, we covered the warlord's rise to power, the Yellow Turban Rebellion, as well as how he bested Lu Bu, the mightiest warrior in the land. If you haven't seen Part 1 already, we suggest you watch that and then come back here. You should see a card on screen now. There's also a link below in the description. What follows is not an exact account of Cao Cao's life. It's more of a combination of the history and Three Kingdoms lore. This is because Cao Cao is as much a historical figure as he is a mythical one. We'll try to indicate which is which. So without further ado, let's get back to it. The Battle of Guandu.
官渡之战
Cao Cao and his childhood friend Yuan Shao were to fight in the Battle of Guandu in 200 AD. Yuan commanded a combined infantry and cavalry of over 100,000 men. This would not be an easy fight. Both served Emperor Xian, but Yuan thought Cao Cao was powerful and posed a threat. Cao Cao was outnumbered. At most, his forces numbered 60,000. Nonetheless, the warlord made the first move and began attacking Yuan in skirmishes. This caused Yuan's forces to be spread thin, as Cao Cao only sent small groups of men to attack. Yuan was aided by another warlord, Liu Bei, in his battle. Despite this, the fighting lasted several weeks and began to exhaust their forces. This was because Cao Cao targeted Yuan's supplies and set them ablaze. And when the winter came, the lack of food combined with the cold left Yuan's forces hungry, tired, and confused. Sensing victory, Cao Cao ordered an all-out attack. His forces routed the tired soldiers of Liu Bei and Yuan Shao. The two fled and Cao Cao was victorious. In the years that followed, he solidified his power and conquered most of northern China. Yuan, meanwhile, died not long after his defeat, and his forces faded over time. The Battle of Red Cliff.
赤壁之战
Cao Cao was driven by ambition. He yearned for a peaceful and unified China and would stop at nothing to achieve it. But this, mythstorians, was to be his downfall. Fresh from conquering the north, Cao Cao turned his attention southwards. Cao Cao initially experienced success in his southern campaign following the surrender of Governor Liu Cong and Jing province. The warlord boasted to have a force of nearly 800,000 men, and he threatened to crush the south if they did not surrender. The threat worried Sun Quan, leader of the southern kingdom of Wu. Could the nearly million-strong Cao Cao wipe them out? Or was it a bluff, as his strategist Zhou Yu thought? Zhou believed Cao Cao's forces to be actually much less than what the warlord claimed. He thought them to number closer to 200,000. So Zhou urged Sun to ally with Liu Bei's forces and to take up arms against Cao Cao. Separately, Cao Cao could annihilate them, but together they made a formidable force. And so, the legendary Battle of Red Cliff began in 208 or 209. Cao Cao's men had marched long and hard for hundreds of miles across the land. However, when the time came to draw steel, many were unfit to fight. The journey had left them sick and tired. Another element that didn't go in Cao Cao's favor this time was the water. He had a navy, but with few or no natural sailors. Many of the men on these boats had no sea legs and as a result got seasick easily. So, Cao Cao had the ships chained together to stop the rocking. Seeing this, Sun Quan's general, Huang Gai, sensed an opportunity to strike a decisive blow. He then sent a letter to Cao Cao in which he said he and his men would surrender and defect. Next, Huang directed a group of surrendering ships towards Cao Cao's forces. However, as the ships got closer, the supposed defectors began to set them ablaze. Their surrender, mythstorians, was a trick. Huang's forces abandoned their flaming vessels before they collided with Cao Cao's chained ships. And with nowhere to escape, many of Cao Cao's forces drowned or died in the fire. Next, the allied forces charged the enemy and, seeing that his army was in tatters, Cao Cao ordered a retreat. Liu Bei and Sun Quan had banished the forces of the devil. The long march home was fraught with peril for Cao Cao and his men. The weather was against them, enemies pursued them, but by some miracle, they made it. In the fictional Three Kingdoms story, Cao Cao flees and is confronted by the Chinese war god and sworn brother of Liu Bei, Guan Yu, while passing through the Huarong Trail. The war god wants to eliminate his foe once and for all. However, he cannot. His conscience won't let him. One looked at Cao Cao's wounded men and Guan Yu felt only pity, so he let Cao Cao pass. The Battle of Red Cliff was a turning point in the Three Kingdoms era, and following the defeat, Cao Cao would turn his attentions back to the north, where he would spend the remainder of his years. The Emperor of Wei.
魏太祖武皇帝
Around 213, Cao Cao was named the Duke of Wei, or Wei Gong in Chinese, and given a fiefdom of 10 places to rule. His land was known as Wei, and 3 years later he was given another title, the King of Wei, or Wei Wang in Chinese. Cao Cao never sought to usurp the emperor, and that was something he held true to throughout his life. He died in the year 220, and his last instructions were that he be buried in a tomb without any treasures. Cao Cao ordered his men to stay at their posts during his funeral because, as he said, the country is still unstable. After he died, his eldest son, Cao Pi, succeeded Cao Cao, and while his father had no desire for the throne, his son did. He made the emperor abdicate and was enthroned himself. And to honor his dead father, Cao Pi granted him the title Wei Taizu Wu Huangdi, Grand Ancestor Emperor Wu of Wei. In death, life.
死后人能继续活着
Cao Cao was more than just a warlord and political figure. He was a father and a husband, and had many concubines. In fact, it is said he fathered more than 24 children. In Chinese opera, he's often portrayed with a white face and as a villain, and that's a role that stuck with most portrayals. But he was also a skilled calligrapher, martial artist, and poet, and it's this last one we'll leave you with. The following is called Short Song Style, and it was written by Cao Cao himself.
I lift my drink and sing a song, for who knows if one's life is short or long. Man's life is like the morning dew, past days many, future days few. The melancholy my heart begets comes from cares I cannot forget. Who can unravel these sorrows of mine? I know of only one man, the god of wine. Disciples dressed in blue, my heart worries for you. You are the cause of this song without pause. Across the banks a deer bleats, in the wilds where it eats. Honored guests I salute, strike the drums and play the flute. Bright is the moon's sparkle, will there be a time it can be grasped? Thoughts of you from deep inside, never settling, never ceasing. Friends drop by via a country road, the respect they pay really shows. A long due reunion we fest, sharing past stories we possessed. The moon outshines the sparse stars, the crows fly to the south. Circling the tree 3 times, on what branch can they find rest? Mountains do not despise height, seas do not despise depth. The sage pauses when guests call, so at his feet the empire does fall.
Thank you, Mythstorian, for watching, and please like, share, subscribe, and ring those mighty bells of notification so you never miss a Myth Stories video. We know all YouTubers say this, but it really helps the channel. But, as always, this isn't goodbye. This is just until the next mythical video.